Music Matters. I'm here with Jaygo. How you feeling, man?
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
Dude, I appreciate you having me in your home.
Yeah, out here in LA, you know?
Yeah, man. What made you want to move to LA?
Oh, literally just the fact that the industry is here, you know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Everybody in the music industry is out in LA, basically. If you need any type of, like this, like interview or podcast, or all the shows are out here right now, especially like coming to the end of COVID, it's starting to get crazy, so...
Do you feel like compared to the Bay, you've really met more people here?
Oh,
like one
yeah.
thing I hear a lot is like people talking about like if you're in the Bay or like anywhere besides LA, you minimize like the meeting somebody by chance factor.
It's not even like a competition. Like in the Bay Area, I'll just sit in my fucking house all day, and in here it's like I'll go out and just anywhere at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You can meet someone, you know.
That's so weird to think about for me. For somebody who's like from the Bay, I would never can even like because I don't know, like, I don't tell people what I do, like, randomly for that reason. It's because, like, I kind of just assume, oh, this person works in tech.
Yeah.
Or this person...
So that's a vibe out here. Everybody is here for something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's what Shane was Shane was talking about, how he met that huge security guard who's, like, security for all those people.
Yeah.
Like, literally just
That's just how it is. That's
just
how it is.
That's crazy to me. Do you miss anything about the Bay? Or just the fact that it's home?
Okay. So the biggest thing that I miss about the Bay is the fact that I lived in a house. And I could wake up in the morning and there's birds chirping and there's a lawn that you can go and chill out on. Here we got helicopters and gunshots and fucking, you know, all that type of shit. So that is the one thing I miss. But like being a 21-year-old in LA, you know, like there's no comparison.
Yeah.
So I don't really miss a lot on that, you know.
Do you feel like there's more to do? Like, did you ever find yourself with like a lack of stuff to do in the Bay, or was it because?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like in the Bay Area, it's like you said, it's like tech people. It's like for people that have been established. It's for people who are kind of like I guess you could say like a higher class, or like older people. I feel like the bar scene and the club scene there is just a lot of like old people.
It's not much weirdos.
Yeah, definitely.
And even like musically, it's not like musically it isn't catered towards what you make at all.
Not
like,
at all.
It's not catered for EDM. So how did you go from when you were in the Bay? What did you listen to, and then how did you get into EDM? Were you in the Bay? Or?
In the Bay, I actually started on rap, like producing rap. So I originally was like, oh, rap, you know, that's like everything to me. But then when I moved down here, I've always been into EDM, and I've always dabbled in the field of EDM and, you know, DJing and music and stuff like that. But when I came down here, I kind of noticed just how much of the fact that I did not want to really get into the rap industry. Just because, like, I don't really, per se, fit in. I wouldn't say fit in, but, like, it's just not my crowd. Like, the rap crowd is not really my crowd. As to where I would go to, like, EDM shows or, like, house shows or something like that. I feel like just I felt way more at home, I guess, or, like, I felt, like, more in place there. And I also really enjoy being able to, like, solely produce by yourself as a EDM artist. Compared to rap, where you're kind of just put in the back, you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, you're the producer, you know. So
you weren't making EDM at all in the Bay, like you weren't.
Oh no, I definitely did. I definitely did here and there. Yeah, I definitely did.
But hip hop was more your speed until you got down here and you realized.
Yeah, I was also around like everybody else around like Philly and like a couple of my friends back home. They would always do rap, so I was like, oh, you know, hip hop. Just do hip hop. But then I really realized that, you know, sometimes it's just not what you want.
And I feel like it's almost like a double box in, because the thing about the Bay Area is like a lot of the time you're really confined to, it's like you're either making punk rock and you're like fitting in with like a Berkeley scene of people or like some of like the indie rock crowd in the city, or it's you're making like a very niche style of hip hop. Like Bay Area hip hop is very specific.
It's hard to make it out of the Bay if you're not making one of those things, you know what I mean?
Like, I know multiple artists that have come here because of the fact that if you're a rapper in the Bay, you either sound like SOB and like,
exactly.
It's like
there's no in between.
Well, yeah, there isn't much of like an alternative hip hop scene in the Bay Area. It's like you sound like SOB or like Nef the Pharaoh or like Du Bois or like
literally
or like Apollo or like outside of that, it's like if you're not if that's not your sound, if you're not coming with like an abrasive delivery and like huge 808s, it's not really gonna fit in the Bay. That's not something people will play out of their speakers driving through the city. Whereas in LA, since it's kind of like a city of immigrants,
you can do whatever you want.
Because there's people doing everything.
There's just so much shit down here, you know? Like, there's all different types of music. There's all different types of culture. There's all different types of things. Like, especially where I'm, you know, I guess where I grew up in the Bay was more of a place where there was absolutely no culture. So that's why I was like, I need to get the fuck out. You know, like I need to move my life on to where I can do whatever I want. You know what I mean? And I guess it is like wherever you are, that's you. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter where you are, but that's still you. But I just feel like the opportunity here, the ceiling is just way higher. You know?
So you're 21, and how old were you when you moved out here?
20.
20. So you've been here for almost a year at this point.
Yeah, just almost a year. I'm still new out here, but it's been pretty.
And did
pretty
you drop
fucking
everything to move down here? Like, were you in school at all?
Oh yeah, so I was in Humboldt State, you know, up north in NorCal, but I was just like, college wasn't the move for me. And I was like, I didn't really know. Once I dropped out of college, I didn't really know where I was gonna go. I was just like, I don't want to be in college. I don't want to be doing this type of thing. And then I was obviously producing a lot, but then I had like Shane and like my homies. They were just like, you gotta like figure that shit out. Like that's something you can really do. And because my parents would tell me like to just get into business or get into marketing or something like that. But I was like, maybe I can actually do something with music, and it's extremely possible.
What were you studying in Humboldt?
Business, marketing. Okay.
And then you got out here. As of now, you're working like regularly, right? Or are you just doing music full time?
I'm just doing music full time. So actually, explaining that, what I do right now currently is, so before a DJ, I'm a producer, right? I started off producing. That's what I love to do mostly. I love going to shows. I love doing shows. It's lit. But producing is like the number one thing. So a lot of DJs, they don't really produce. And this is like, the EDM talk. But they don't really produce. They more just play people's songs. So a lot of DJs are looking for people to help them produce. So met a couple dudes that I actually help produce, and it's doing pretty good. It's kind of just like the start of the relationship with these people, but I'm basically just making songs or helping them make songs because
So when you do that, when you come out and you're saying, I'm making a beat for this rapper, or I'm doing this EDM track, what's your process like when you're in terms of production? Do you start with a melody? Do you start with your drums? Like, what is your building process?
It's different every time. Most of the time, though, I'll start with a melody. And, like, you could basically make drums sound good with anything, Like, like the melody, in my opinion, the melody is just the most important. You know what I mean? I guess drums are the essentials of the track, but you can figure out your drums later. Once you got a fire melody, you'll be able to get the drums down, And so I basically start with a melody, start with like Serum is like my favorite fucking plugin. Everybody uses Serum, it's so mobile. It's like a little synthesizer that you can create.
Serum and Omnisphere, right?
Yeah, it's basically the same exact thing. But I start
low production knowledge.
Yeah, so basically I start with some type of plugin, like a synth or something like that, and I'll like write a chord progression, and then if the chord progression sounds fire, then I'll try adding some drums and then just go from there. What I like to do a lot though is I like to get acapellas from artists, and building off the acapella is like a really great way to get a full track. You know what I mean? Because I find for me, it's hard to build a full track without any type of lyrics or vocals,
Has that process changed over the years, like compared to when you started?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So I kind of started by just like, you'd put like a kick and a clap or a snare, and then you'd figure out what you put on top of that. But I feel like that's just kind of like, I don't know, you need the vibe of the track. Like the melody is the real vibe. The drums just like bring that vibe out. They make that vibe hit harder, you know what I mean?
It's like the heartbeat of the human.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the rhythm, but you need what the track is like all the sounds and everything like that. Everything that's like sonically like nice.
So this is when you're making beats for rappers. What about when you're doing EDM? Like when you're producing your own EDM music, is it the same process?
It's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically the same. And it's kind of like, honestly, I'll make a melody, right? Or I'll be working on a track, and sometimes my brain battles itself. It's like, oh, do you want to take this into a beat? Do you want to take this into one of your own like house tracks or EDM tracks? So like that's kind of something I'm kind of in right now, is because I'm kind of stuck in both worlds sometimes, because I'm still around all the rap guys, you know what I mean? And they're always like, beats, and I'm like, I really want to make beats for you, but balancing that out is kind of interesting.
Is that hard, and does that play into your end goal at all? Like, if you thought about, like, oh, like, I want to be an EDM producer, or, like, I want to be a hip-hop producer, is that hard? Is that, like, a battle?
It's kind of tough because if, say, I make a beat for, like, Phil or, like, any of the other guys that I work with, and it blows up, and then people know me as a rap producer, I'm going to be like, oh, shit, well, I don't know what to do now. But I'm still just, my whole thing, I'm just going to push being that DJ, EDM producer. But I'll still make, I'll make rap bangers for the homies,
I've heard the same kind of situation. It's like a similar dynamic, but a different situation from, like, people I know who are trying to get into film, and they're like, they want to move to LA, and they think a good way to do that is through making music videos at first, and it's totally a good way to do that because you make, you can make decent money off music videos.
Definitely.
But it's like balancing that, what's going to make me money versus where does my creativity take me, and
exactly.
it's tough, and I feel that too. Like,
exactly.
With there's like shit. I'm not gonna say it, but like there's shit above the bridge that I'm not interested in doing, but it builds an audience.
Yeah, you have. Sometimes you just have to do things,
Yeah, and I mean, there's a very big difference from like doing that and like completely selling out and doing something you don't want to do.
Yeah,
just because it makes you money. Because you should never be doing something you don't want to do if it's making you money. But I feel like there is a balance. It's really easier for people to call you a sellout or immediately say, oh, you're just you're giving up on your dream and you're doing something that you don't want to do because it gives you a bag. But it's like, you have to survive, bro, before anything else.
Literally.
Like, you can't be creative if you're dead.
At the end of the day, if you're trying to make a career out of something, it's a job. And every job has things that you do that you don't want to do. You know what I mean? So, obviously, 80% of being a musician is fucking dope. But there's some things you don't want to do some days, you know what I mean? And that's just the name of the game. That's the name of every game.
For the right hi-hat.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, so when you were at Humble and you were studying business, did that anxiety ever come into your head? You're like, fuck, I don't want to get caught in this world. This isn't what I want to do.
Fuck yeah, dude. Every day. I would just sit in my room and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one up there. It's literally just a big forest and ocean. It's beautiful, but there's not. The only thing there is to do is just people will just drink and go to the beach, or drink and go to people's houses. There's a lot of, the big scene there was like rock house shows.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I'd go to a lot of those.
Are you into rock music?
I mean, that's what, like, basically what I grew up on, I guess.
So you like it?
Yeah. My mom was a DJ in the 80s.
Oh, no way.
And she was like a punk DJ, and she interviewed a bunch of punk bands. Like, if you know the Replacements.
Yeah, that's like my dad's favorite band.
Yeah, I have like a couple posters and stuff of it.
I have a Milo Goes to College shirt like, in my bag.
Crazy. She interviewed the lead singer for the Ramones. Like, she was in the scene. She was in the scene. And what? I have a shirt of her radio station in my room.
I'm not gonna ask you her name right now, but tell me later, because that's wild to me.
Yeah, dude.
That's
she was
crazy.
pretty dope. She was pretty dope.
So a similar thing to all this.
I mean, yeah. It's definitely, I've heard from her, though, just the fact that she was a female just made it a lot harder for her to...
Dude, I bet. I don't... Her name is escaping me, but there was a really big, notorious music journalist that I was listening to speak. I was listening to her speak on Rick Rubin's podcast, and she was talking about that same thing, probably the same era as your mom, like during a lot of punk music, during the grunge era. So like, she was around like Nirvana. She was around. She was in that Seattle scene pretty much. She was around Pearl Jam and stuff.
Yep.
But it was like she was saying the same thing, like being a woman, like probably not with the grunge guys, but outside of that world, you get no respect as a journalist.
Tough. Literally, the reason why she stopped being a DJ is she got a bunch of interviews at Sony to become like a radio DJ, like she would tour and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the only way she would get that job is if she like slept with some of the guys on the team.
Fucked.
So she was just like
a common thing. It's like
that's how I felt about rap.
Yeah.
Is I was like, I saw some of the things that happened in the rap industry, and I'm just like, ooh, is that really what I want to get into? And that's what my mom saw, and she was like, no, I don't really want to get into that.
Do you think that's only rap though? Because like, didn't you say she was like interviewing a lot of punk bands and stuff too?
Oh, well, I was saying rap, like I said, like, just the things that I've experienced. But, yeah, no, it's dude, the shitty industry of music is everywhere. Yeah. Literally everywhere.
I feel like there's pros and cons to every genre, but it's like there's so many problems that are, like, that plague the industry at large.
Yeah, definitely. I just feel like for rap right now, everybody's trying to blow up off of it, so you really can just sniff out the people who are just trying to make a bag.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you're trying to make a bag, just... don't bring other people down and disrespect other people on the way. You know what I mean?
It's interesting to me though, because I feel like in the passing of guys like X and Mac and Pop Smoke and King Von and just like these deaths that have majority been preconceived by either violence and or drugs, it seems to me that it's made an impact on the industry. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but just being around, like in the past like year, to me, stuff has seemed a bit different. Like it seems like positivity and like accepting people changing. And being who you are in hip hop is becoming more. The
trap rap, bro. I think it's going out the door.
I think it's dying. I think like the idea of like I don't know. To me, it seems like there are a lot of rappers who are starting to realize that like gangbanging and shit isn't cool because it gets your homies killed.
It gets everyone killed, bro, and it just makes everything worse.
Not that I've never been in that life. Like I'm privileged. I'm beyond privileged. Not that I've 100%. Ever been anywhere close to that.
100%.
But from an outside perspective, it seems almost elementary to think like that. It's like. It's very obvious that that's not the right way to do it, and a lot of these kids, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault at all. Most of all of them, it's not their fault.
Vast majority, they're born into this environment, and they have to comprehend these things. And in a lot of cases, sometimes their dad banged and their grandpa banged, and it's like, what do you do? It's like,
and that's why you see the growth too. You know? Like in the artists that start making it, you know what I mean? You could see they're just like, oh, they start to switch up how they do things because they're like,
it's positivity.
Yeah, they're just like, oh wow, this is the life. Like, is this the life that I want to continue to, like, not only live but push on to other people? Like, not really. And then they start changing up everything.
That's one thing that's really interesting, too, about, like, no, you're good. That's one thing that's really interesting about, oh, I lost my train of thought because that happened. What was I
hey, it happens. It happens.
What was I saying? It was like,
hey, you know.
I had such a good point. I was ready to go, and then I was like, oh, there's a chord there.
My bad, boss.
It's the ADHD kicking in. No, but go back to your mom. When you were talking about your mom, and she's in that scene, how does she feel about you dropping out of college and trying to get into a similar? And I know you're not trying to do anything journalistic, like you're not trying to interview people or anything like that. But even being in the same world of music, was there any pushback from her in that regard?
So actually, for my dad, there was a lot of pushback. Like he was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It would make sense that your mom would
understand. But my mom totally. She's still all for it. She wants me to go to school. She wants me to, you know.
To both?
Yeah, she wants me to be safe. Obviously, it's a good idea to be safe, which I'm going to be. But it was more my dad. He was the one who was like, nah. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But he did support. He would support as much as he could, you know. But he at the end of the day, like he would tell me, he was like, oh, like I believe that you're good at what you do, and I believe that it could work out. But he was still like, I just don't agree with you doing what you're doing, you know? Like, some people's brains are that's just not how they, you know?
It's definitely a generational thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's a lot harder for a father and somebody who's I'm not sure how old your dad is, but somebody who's like in their 50s or 40s to try to understand that world, you know, opposed to kids who are a lot younger. It's a lot easier for them to understand that world and realize that it's really possible to make money through the internet and through music.
It's switched up, bro. Any of y'all out there that want to do something, just do it. Literally, anybody can do anything at this age. It is wild.
It's insane.
TikTok, Instagram, like, I know it's cliche as fuck that I say that, but like it's true. Like people are making bags from nothing.
That's
like,
what the internet's gotten us to.
It's wild. I mean, I'm all for it, but there's definitely stupid amounts of toxicity in it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like bad.
Yeah. No, 100%. When you move out here, how long was that after you decided to drop out of college? Was it like a same thing? Was it like I'm gonna drop out of college to move to LA?
Actually, in 2020, in like early 2020, that's when I dropped out of school. But late 2020 is when I moved here. So when I dropped out of school, I was kind of in this like really weird period in my life. I was in a really, really weird period in my life when I dropped out of school because I was like, oh, I'm back home. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean? I was working at Chipotle, and I was like, what's next? And I remember Shane had this vision, my manager, had this vision that we needed to move down to LA and we needed to get the shit popping. And I was like, at first I was like, you know, like most people would be like, that's not safe, you know? Like that's sus. I'm not going to school down there, you know? But then I was like, wait, I could actually do something down there, you know? Like I could just be who I am. I don't need to worry about like how safe it is. I'm fucking 20 years old, 21 years old. Like I can do what I want, you know, and like there's not going to be a lot of repercussions as long as I'm not hurting someone else, as long as I'm not harming someone else, you know what I mean? So I was just like, let's go. And we did it. Probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, you know?
How'd that conversation go with your parents when you told them you wanted to move down here?
So
You don't,
it was,
you don't have to get into it. If you
no,
don't
no,
want
no, it's fine. It's fine. It was actually not that bad. My mom was like, at first she was like, really? Is that what you want to do? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, really? Is that what you want to do? And then I was like, yeah. And then that's when she was like, okay.
She just wanted to make sure it was
genuine. Yeah. So now that just the fact that I've proven to my mom, like, how much I really want this shit and like why I'm down here, you know, she's like, now at this point in where we're at, she's like completely fine with everything, you know. But the initial talk was a little weird at first, but it you know, we worked it out.
So when you're growing up and your mom is so did you say she was a journalist when she was younger, like a lot younger before she had you, or were you alive at this point?
No, she was way younger. She was like in her 20s.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, but so you're growing up, and obviously your mom was still engraved in that lifestyle. She wasn't doing it. I mean, it sounds like she wasn't.
No, she was
an artist still, but I'm sure the music is still a gigantic part of her. So when you're growing up, is there music in the house? Like, is your dad into music?
So, my dad was a crazy guitar player. That was like.
So there's music everywhere.
In my house, yeah, there was music everywhere. Like I was in band when me and Shane were in band when I was in when we were young, kindergarten. We started band. I played the trumpet. I still have a trumpet in my closet, and
Jason Derulo trumpet.
Yeah, that's a fire song. But I actually have a song with a trumpet on it that I played.
That you played?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
I gotta show you it later.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, I did guitar. Like my dad was like, oh, you gotta do guitar. So I went to this place called Red Houses in my old neighborhood.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Oh yeah, you do know where it is. And I used to play at Red House all the time. And I remember I was in this like mini band for like 2 years, and I used to play guitar.
What do you mean by mini?
It was like 3 people.
Oh, okay.
And it was like formulated.
You mean small in like quantity.
And it was like formulated through guitar lessons. Like if you signed up for the lessons, you got.
They like made you into a band. Oh, okay.
Which was cool. It taught me a lot.
How old were you?
Dude, probably like 10.
Okay.
11. But like as far as like production though, I didn't start till I was like 18 or 17.
So you kept playing the guitar through that though, like between.
Yeah, I would just mess around. I know how to read music, like sheet music and stuff like that.
So you understand theory too and a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like some god, not even close. Like it's more of what I do is literally just make shit sound cool on the computer. But like I have like the
new age production.
Yeah.
Opposed to old age production.
Yeah, it's not like I'm full like just like, you know, computer. Like I can do some stuff past it. Like I can play some instruments, you know, I can get some things going. But
like a Kenny Beats type mix.
Sure, Kenny Beats is fucking insane. So
he's pretty damn good guitar, actually. Anyway,
and he can play anything.
Yeah.
He's pretty raw. But that's the aspiration, you know. Kenny Beats that does EDM and DJs. I guess he DJs. Yeah. I guess he DJs. He does.
Is he an inspiration?
Yeah, he was like a huge inspiration for me when I was first starting out. Because I've been following that fool since 2017.
That's sick.
And I was like, Kenny Beats, you know, that's the boy.
I've taken a lot from Kenny Beats too, just like more specifically with the cave.
Yeah, his videos, just talking.
Kind of just like the
energy
of
hours.
it, like the aesthetic of it. It's just dope. It's very genuine.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's very genuine. I also like I like watching his streams a lot, not because I fully understand what he's doing production wise, but it's because I like what he says, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like it's really easy to get into Kenny Beats as a character and like who he is.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy.
One thing he always stresses is like invest in yourself, and that's a big reason why I bought everything.
You have to.
Yeah, like that was a huge inspiration. I was like, I need to invest in myself.
I feel you. I spent literally thousands on the studio that I have in my room, but. It's the reason why I'm able to do what I do, you know what I mean?
So when you start working with rappers and you're trying to make a beat for them, how do you usually meet these rappers when you're in LA? Are you just reaching out over Instagram?
It depends. It really depends. The way it works down here is if you meet one person, you meet 10. So it's like I literally met probably about 5-6 people when I came down here, and that just opened it up like infinitely. You know what I mean? For the hip hop side, I mostly just do it for the boys. Cause like I'm not on that vibe of just hitting people up and like trying to, you know,
Like, let me
make them
send you a
pay
beat
me.
pack, yeah.
You know, like that's not. I just throw my boys beats and we, you know, and also my opinion, if you're homies with someone and you make them pay for beats, you're a piece of shit. Yeah, literally, that's what I do for hip hop. But for as far as the EDM side, it was like I would go to the shows, like the everybody would DJ at, and I met all those dudes, and they were like, "Oh, you produce," and they were raw DJs, but I wasn't on the level of someone.
But none of them produced?
I mean, they do, but like the extent to what they produce is like not super, you know,
That's
high.
so interesting to me that they're super into like.
Because they just love music.
Yeah.
They most of these DJs like grew up just listening, like analyzing. Like for me, I did not grow up like analyzing everything, like trying to figure out I just was like, I want to fucking do shit. You know, I just want to make shit. And that's like the biggest thing for me is that like everything I do is just extremely experimental. I just like messing with stuff, you know?
So when that process started, like you just sitting down and making stuff, like so let's say back like in 2018, like I was looking through like your SoundCloud and stuff, and like when you were making those EPs and stuff, what was what place in your life were you at? Were you like, you know, I'm gonna go to school for business, I'm gonna be a businessman, or were you more like I want to get into music? 'Cause it seems like even back then, like on your SoundCloud and stuff, you were going pretty hard. Like,
I was going stupid hard back then. It was trash, but like it you know, it's the staple of who I am. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But at first I started, I'm like, this is just fun as fuck. You know, this is just super fun. I love doing this, and I didn't even think of the career aspect. And I just went to school, you know, was doing my thing. But then, as I got farther into it, I remember just being in my room, and I was just thinking of like, oh shit, I could be up on stage. You know what I mean? Like I could be like in front of people. I could be sharing this thing with people. And a lot of people ask me like, oh, like what's your like passion with this whole music thing? And I'm like, at the end of the day, like music isn't like my biggest passion. My biggest passion is to just like bring people together, like all be on this great vibe, like everyone happy, like dancing, like having fun. Like that's my passion. And you're able to do that through making music and then doing shows. And like I love that, you know what I mean? Just being able to share those experiences with people is just that's what I live for, you know?
When you say you want to share experiences with people and you want to make sure you want to build genuine connections, does that make you pretty particular about when you're trying to work with somebody? Like, will you not work with people you don't have like genuine connections with?
I mean, I just kind of realized that a lot of people are just mean.
Yeah.
So if you're just mean, I'm just like, you know, there's not really any. There's
not much you can do about that.
There's not very much energy I could put into that. Yeah. You know, someone being asshole and stuff like that. And a lot of the DJs and everything like that, a lot of those guys are fucking great guys. They're all they want to do is music. And that's why I love it. I love it so much. They're just music. Like that's what I want to do. They just want to, like the same vibe that I'm on, where they just want to share these experiences with music with people. And like, that's just, you know, that's what we live for. That's what we live for, man.
So your latest project that was on your SoundCloud that you recorded in 2018, like the one called Normal.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that. Why'd you call it Normal? What does normal mean?
It's because I'm normal as fuck. I was literally just a white kid in a suburban town, you know, and I made that whole thing with Phil. He helped me. He like basically co-produced it, and he was on one of the songs. And there's actually an EDM song in there.
Yeah, I listened to it. It was good.
It's just cool. I like it. But yeah, I named it Normal because I'm just like a picture poster child for basically normal. Got the blonde hair, blue eyes, from the suburbs. So I was like, you know, I'm normal, but I can make things that aren't normal, you know?
Is that a message you want to push people that, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're like more of like a quote-unquote normal person?
Yeah,
you can still do something like this? You don't have to be like that eccentric, out-of-the-pocket person?
100%. 100%. That's like one of my biggest things. Is just the fact that I'm just some, you know, basic-ass white kid, but trying to do bigger things in a sense, you know what I mean?
So how did you meet Philly? He was up there?
He's like a lifelong friend. Okay. All these guys are lifelong friends. Went to high school together. There was like times where Phyllis would just stay at my house for just weeks on weeks on weeks. And you know, that's where we were at. I met Shane, manager Shane, kindergarten. It's crazy. We're here now. You know what I mean? It's wild. It's wild to think about that.
So you guys all moved down here at the same time, right?
Basically, so me and Shane moved down here, and then Phyllis came with us, just to like check it out. And then we were like, dude, you just gotta move down here. And he was like, you're right. And he moved down here the next month.
Wow.
So we were just like, he just completely caught the vibe instantly.
You being around so many creative people and just being in that sphere, do you think that influences you a lot? Like, do you think when you're, you sit down, you're trying to make a beat or whatever,
100%.
do you think the fact that, like, the guy next to you is trying to enter that same lane as you, does that inspire you? Does that make you want to work harder?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, just the fact that we all are doing the same thing, basically, just pushes all of us, because we all get on each other's cases every day. Every single day. Just like, you got to make your logo, you got to get your animations going, you got to get your songs dropped, you got to get your stuff mixed and mastered. Like, that's just the constant vibe, is just trying to, get things going.
So when you're recording stuff, is that mostly here, like in your room or what? Or are you...
So interesting enough, when I came down here, I was like, I wanted to dabble into the realm of sound engineering.
Yeah.
And I did dabble in the realm of sound engineering. And I figured out that's also not what I wanted to do at all. I recorded a lot of people. I don't remember a lot of the people's names. I don't, like, it was just like at a studio. It was a studio in downtown LA.
How'd you find that studio?
Indeed.
Indeed.com?
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
And I just found them, and they put me on as like a little, basically like an intern.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for like a month or two. And you'll see like on Instagram all the stereotypes of like engineers and stuff, how they get shit on. Like, it's kind of true.
Like dudes sitting over like the mixing board, they're just like this.
Yeah, literally.
And like the room's like poorly lit.
And I just can't sit on my computer and just like record over and over again. Like, it just drives me insane. You know what I mean? So then I kind of like backed away from that. But I know how to do it. But like, it takes a long time. I'd rather just, pay someone to do it.
How much about that did you know before you moved down here?
Sorry, say it one more time.
I said, how much about that did you know before you moved down here?
A little bit. I mean, like, everything on my SoundCloud was like basically mixed and mastered by me, and you can definitely tell. Yeah. But, you come a long way. Now everything now is mixed and mastered mostly by me too, and it sounds a lot better. So that's like,
So when you're working in that studio, is that just your job? You're sitting there recording people all day? Like, you're just the chief sound engineer, or
what? You're just literally the chief sound engineer. Like, you're just a tool.
Wow. And rappers or artists or whatever would just rent the studio, and they just come through and you record them.
Mm-hmm. And I remember there was one time, funny enough, where a guy literally was like about to kick me out because he was like, I just don't like how you're engineering. I was like, fair enough.
This is an artist?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just happens. Like, it's totally fine. I wasn't that great back then,
Uh-huh.
I wasn't that anything special.
What didn't you like about it?
I mean, I don't know. I felt like I was doing everything normal. He was just like, nah, like, we should get another guy in here. Do you have anyone else here? And I was like, sure. It just happens,
What the hell?
Kind of, for a while there, I wasn't really down talking about it because I was kind of, it stroked my ego a little bit. But you got to realize that's just the name of the game,
And I feel like you got to take those things in stride,
Yeah.
You got to take them and let them bounce off and be motivations.
Definitely.
So when you're recording up here and you're and you're like, wherever you are you recording in the studio, or are you in your house, or how's that going?
It depends. So right now, a lot of like what we'll do is we'll record ideas in my closet, and we'll see if it sounds cool. And if it sounds cool, we'll take those ideas and then we'll go to a studio and record it. Like, that's the best way, in my opinion, because
you're not wasting money.
Yeah, you can make stuff sound cool here, like in your house. Like, obviously you can make fucking Billboard hits in your house.
People have done it.
Yeah, all the time. But I just feel like the best way to do it for me is to just, you can spend an hour. If you have everything written out, if you have everything done, we do all the work, like the real work here. But just to get the best sound we can, you just go to the studio for like an hour. You could record, if you have everything done and you know what you want, you could have everything, you could have 2 songs done within an hour if you just pump it out.
I always say this, it's a very underappreciated struggle that artists go through paying for studio time.
Well, that's like the biggest thing. One of the biggest things when you're an upcoming artist is like, how do you find these resources and tools to make good music without spending thousands of dollars.
It's one of those things you don't think about.
It's almost impossible, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. I'm not a rapper, so I don't know. But because I got to spend money too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We all got to spend money to get the quality, you know?
To me, it's like, the way I think about it is like, when you're getting into the industry and you're saying, oh, I'm going to make music, there's a lot of things you know you're going to spend money on, right? You know you're going to spend money on equipment. You know you're going to spend money on gear. But I would think that, like, the reason you think you can do that, or the reason you think you're going to, or the reason you're going to buy all that stuff is because you think you can make cool stuff at home, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. Sometimes you got to be an engineer and you got to be in that room.
Yeah. I spent so much fucking money on shit here, like plugins and everything like that, trying to mix. Like, it's ridiculous.
When you were building your studio, not your studio, but when you were in your room building all that stuff up, how long did that take? Like, how long of a period of time were you, like, accumulating gear?
Oh, man. It's been years. I started with trash for, like, a year or two, like, garbage. And then I eventually was like, you know, my Chipotle started paying off. And I eventually got some speakers, got some better speakers, an interface. And now I have, like, a bunch of shit. But it took a while. You know, a lot of money invested, a lot of time invested.
That's the real struggle when you're working the minimum wage job and trying to pay for all this stuff that isn't meant for people who work minimum wage to buy.
Yeah, especially I'm sorry, but for production, it's a lot of money.
Oh, God.
Because I have guitars, you know, I have like crazy fucking speakers now. You have to get a stupid computer if you want to, especially for EDM production. Like, if you really want to go ham with that shit, you need, like, a crazy computer. And I had to spend so much money. And your board, your DJ board, you know, like, there's a lot of money dropped on that shit. And if you don't have all of it, then, like, you're just behind the next guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, literally. And that's, in that sense, it sucks, but it's almost like, it's not always the case of, oh, this guy knows what he's doing the most, and this guy sounds the best, so he's going to be the one on top.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's, this guy sounds better than this guy, but he also has access to an expensive studio, and he also has access to, like, expensive recording equipment, and he has access to these producers, and a lot of it's just who you know as well. It's like, and that's such a big part about being in LA. I feel like you just being around people that you know. Yeah, exactly. When you say you play guitar and stuff, how often are you playing in your beats and in your EDM music? Like, are you very often sampling yourself and, like, recording these instrumentals, or are you more on the computer?
It literally, like, it just depends on the song. Like, I'd probably say it's like, I mostly will use, like, electronic instruments and, like, the MIDI and stuff like that. But, like, if there's a song that has a really analog, sick vibe, then I'll bring the guitar out and try as hard as I can to capture something on there. But most of it's, like, some electronic, you know what I mean?
So when it does happen, it's always, like, you build a beat first, or you're making a track first, and you're like, okay, this guitar...
maybe some guitar would sound sick.
Yeah, it's like, this would sound sick with a guitar solo.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time, though, I'd probably say it's done through either, like, I've, like, live and die by... I know this sounds bad, but I live and die by Splice sometimes. I'll always change it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm just going to take something directly from Splice and just put it in. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'll just, like, chop it, you know, pitch it different ways. Yeah. But that's, like, a huge resource. Like, especially for, like, one-shot sounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, claps and stuff. Like, you don't even have... If you have Splice, you don't really need drum packs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, you can just use Splice. Like, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, drum packs and stuff like that, I imagine, are really expensive. Like, I know, like...
Yeah, you can find some crazy free shit on, like, Reddit. But, yeah, you gotta, like, just gotta spend money, like, at the end of the day.
Plugins, too. I feel like that's another thing a lot of producers go through. It's, like, paying for plugins, because some plugin packs are
I spent G's. I've spent G's on plugins, dude.
Yeah, for, like, no reason. Like, it's like, these people can just charge that much for it.
It doesn't make sense. It's literally just, like, an electronic thing, you know? It's not like what it used tangible. To be anymore, where it's like, where it's like something like that you plug in. It's like on the computer.
Which is pretty crazy. It to me, like, I always felt like if somebody really wanted to make money out of their production, they would just make a ton of packs. Like, and I mean, there's plenty of people who do that. Yeah. But it's like that is such a good way to make money.
That's big in the DJ game. Yeah. Is like sound packs, just making like whatever style they have, they just drop sound packs.
It's the ultimate form of passive income. Like, you make it once and you put it up and people buy it forever, I imagine, if it's good enough.
One thing that I don't really understand is how a lot of these guys sell those packs. Like, who?
What do you mean?
Like, I've never bought like a pack from like a small DJ. I feel like, or
Yeah,
like
I mean,
producer.
you just see fools like outside of clubs like, buy my pack.
Yeah,
buy my pack,
I
buy
mean,
my
I
pack.
guess I totally understand why people would buy it, but I'm just like, there's so much free shit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need to, so much free stuff online. Like, if you do your searching, you can make sick music from like nothing.
What do you produce with? Like, what program?
Oh, FL.
Okay.
Yeah. I've used literally every single one. Like, when I was at the internship, I had to know Pro Tools and Logic, like, extensively. So I can record, and on Logic, I can make a beat. I can do the basics. Ableton, I'm moderately, like, fluent in Ableton, I can do most things, but FL, I just feel like for me has just worked with my brain. And I know it gets shit on, and it's like FL producers are below and stuff like that. And it's kind of...
Fuck that.
But in all honesty, I could say, like, a lot of the reason why FL is viewed as below is because...
It's easier.
It's just so easy to get, like, a hold of. Like, you can,
it's
like...
more of a drag and drop type thing.
Yeah, you can also just, like, get it off the internet from, like, uTorrent, Mm-hmm. I didn't do that. But no, I actually I bought it. But
we're gonna have to check that out later, sure.
But literally, like, that's why it's shit on, is because there's so many kids that just download FL to make a bag.
That's so dumb.
It makes sense.
But yeah, but it's like the idea. It's like the idea that something being easy inherently makes it bad, or like the idea like if something isn't hard to do, then it's somehow not valued as well. Like for example, like. People who make websites using like web builders, like web developers and designers will be like, wow, like you're using like Weebly or like Wix to make your website. Literally. And it's like, it's easy. Well, there's nothing wrong with things being easy. They look professional.
When you're starting out too, it's like, you can use FL. I don't know if that's one thing that I'm really thinking of right now is like, if I should make the switch to Ableton, but then I keep hearing from like actual like good producers and DJs and stuff that are like, whatever works for you, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. They all do the same. It doesn't
matter
shit.
At all. Like the average EDM listener, they're not going to say, they made this on FL. I'm not going to listen to it. I mean,
you got like Avicii, Martin Garrix. You got a bunch of guys that are like OGs in the industry. RIP to Avicii. But that use FL,
Oh, I didn't know that. I would have assumed they all use Ableton.
There's a lot of guys that use FL.
That's like, people talk about that a lot, I feel like. I always hear like, oh, Ableton is like for the purpose like producing electronic music.
Yeah, and I feel like literally the fact that in the electronic industry, the reason why FL is shit on is because FL is used by so many of the rap producers, you know what I mean? And
yeah, it's interesting. Do you ever feel like there's like a butting heads between certain genres? Like whenever you're making like electronic music, do you feel like some people are like, oh, do you feel like rappers would judge you for that, or do you feel like electronic musicians would judge you for working with rappers?
I feel like so electronic producers love working with rappers and love rap. I feel like rappers are more reluctant to go the electronic route, but now that they're seeing the crazy shows that you get from electronic music, so a lot of them are starting to be like, oh, I like this industry, let me try it out. And like you see a lot more now. There's a lot of really dope rappers working with a lot of really dope producers, so there's a lot of good music coming. Like there's this guy, Boombox Cartel. You probably heard some of his, but do you know who Reese LaFleur is? You probably...
The name sounds super
he's like a Dreamville guy. They just worked together and like they made a
Dreamville guy, you said?
Yeah, and they made a slap.
Reese LaFleur.
They made a slap, and it's just like I think that mixture is so sick. The electronic hip hop mixture is so dope.
I agree, and it's becoming even bigger with people like Cardi.
It's huge.
Like people like Cardi with like their electronic beats. That's like
literally
huge. Like, it's a big sound.
Everybody knows this, but Mr. Rage was a sample pack from a future-based EDM like. It's called Cymatics, and it's like they're a software or like a website that drops a bunch of packs, and it was literally a free loop for a future-based pack on the website.
That's so crazy.
And fool just reversed it, made a nasty beat, And look where it is now. Look where Mr. Rage is now. It's fucking huge.
Do you ever get in creative slumps, like where you're like for a couple weeks you're like, oh, I haven't been able to make anything, write anything for the past couple weeks. Like,
So,
do you ever get in slumps like that?
I literally just like shit on myself a lot more than I should.
Uh-huh.
I'm like always like, oh, this shit's trash. It's just trash. And I show people, and they're like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like, and I feel like I run into that problem a lot, where I create a slump for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
You
it's
doubt
me
yourself.
that causes it. You know what I mean? I'm the one that talks myself into something. But that's just like part of, being an artist, I guess, is just constantly questioning your craft and what you do. But I'm starting to get a little better as to just like be like, oh, I just need to do this shit. You know what I mean?
Does that ever make you reluctant to put stuff out?
All the time. I mean, that's the whole reason why I'm like, I've been sluggish on putting things out. You know what I mean? Is because I'm just like waiting, but I need to stop waiting.
Do you tend to accumulate a big vault, like a big vault of music?
Oh my god, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I get lost in it sometimes.
Just tons and tons and tons
I
of
get
stuff.
lost. I get lost.
So when you're DJing, like how often are you going to these clubs and DJing? Like before COVID, did COVID put an end to most of that?
I'm like pretty new. Like I said, I'm new as fuck to the DJ scene. So
Yeah.
like before COVID, I wasn't really doing anything to DJ, but now I've been getting into it, and I've been going to like these clubs, and I've been getting my practice in and everything like that a little bit more. But hopefully soon it's going to be like something where I can just live off of it. You know what I mean? But right now, just like producing for DJs is something that I've been doing a lot.
What was your first step to get into that world and meet those people and try to get into those clubs?
Oh, so my first experience with it, one of my friends, he's a photographer, and he shoots like EDC, like he was booked to shoot a Coachella. He's like a raw photographer, right? And he works with a bunch of these guys, and they run like raves in the LA River. And I went to a couple of them, and I met a bunch of the guys there, and like I said, those are guys that I've been like messing with. And that was my first experience. And I was like, at the time I was like, didn't even know much about DJing at all. I just knew what music I liked, what to play, stuff like that, with the vibes. I didn't really know all the specifics about it, but they kind of are guiding me into that, into that realm of being a DJ, like a full-time DJ.
Do you remember when you played like your first official set?
Oh, yes, I do.
How'd it go?
It was interesting. I was in Joshua Tree, and we were at this like Airbnb, and a bunch of people ended up pulling up, like a bunch of people. And I remember I was like so nervous. And I played, and it was like the most fun thing I've ever done, ever. Like, it was so fun. And then that was like one of the moments where I fell in love with it. You know what I mean?
And how many sets have you played since then?
Oh, probably like, it's gonna sound really like not that sick. Probably like 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on like getting into like one of like the big sets at the warehouse. That's like what I'm really trying to work on doing right now. But like as of right now, like I did like a bar show. That was like kind of weird.
It was like older people?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to really get into doing like big shows, like, or like, shows where people come to like listen to that type of music,
And do your nerves do you get really nervous?
Every
before
time,
these
dude.
sets?
Oh my god. Every time I go up in front of people and I'm playing, like even if it's just like someone that is like listening to like how good I'm DJing, I'm like, oh shit. And I what I've been doing recently a lot of is like live streaming. We go to the DJ studio where there's CDJs, and we'll live stream, and that like is getting my like confidence. You know what I mean?
The DJ studio, what's that?
So in Silver Lake, there is it's a big building with a bunch of studios. There's like recording production studios, and there's also DJ studios. So most DJs out there, all DJs out there should know that like that board right there is not what you would use in the setting of playing a show. You use these things called CDJs where you can plug your USB in. So like you have like on your car keychain or whatever, like your little USB, and it has all your music on it. So that DJ studio has those CDJs, which are like thousands of dollars. And we go in there and we'll rent it out for a couple hours, and it's like just a vibe, and we'll just DJ for hours on live.
So when you're DJing and you're up there, what are you doing live? Like what? Again, I'm in this genre, in this scene, I'm ignorant as hell. When you're up there and you're, you plug in that USB and you're playing your music.
Yeah.
What about it are you doing live?
What about it am I doing live?
Yeah.
So literally just think of it like this, like, how you see those big circles on all the DJ boards?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, you're scratching your DJ. You're pretty much DJing your own music.
I mean, right now, just the fact that, like, I can't play all my stuff because a lot of it isn't mine because, you sell it to other people. And also, I only have a little bit, like, released, I guess. Literally what I do is I'll just find catalogs of music. And you just find ones that work the best with each other, you know what I mean? And whichever ones work the best with each other, you just load them into the program. It's like the screens are on.
Is that my phone? No.
I don't know idea. I think that's changed. The screens are on each side of the jogs or the wheels, and you can just see exactly which songs you're queuing up or which songs are up next, and then you just basically bring them into each other the coolest way. And you use, like, the effects, like reverb, echo, high pass, low pass, just to make it sound sick.
Have you found, like, a particular style of DJing yet? Like, do you feel like you've kind of developed your own style? Like, how vocal are you on, like, a mic and stuff?
I stay off the mic as much as possible.
Uh-huh.
I don't, like, I'll just be like, what's up? My name is blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But, like, I just let the music do the talking for the most part. But, my style is just, like, all different types of, like, dance music. Like the 120s, that's like where I'm at, the 120 BPM range. Literally like from house to just like, there's some type of like, there is future bass and dance music that is in that realm, but just like any type of dance, you know what I mean? That's like my favorite, because I feel like for the stuff that's slower and like rap, there's not really a rhythm that you can get into. It's kind of more of all technicalities. When it's like house music and dance music, you're literally just like, you're in the same rhythm. You're like, you know what I mean? And you're just switching throughout the songs and making it sound sick. And that's why I love it.
You say you're at 120 BPM. Do do EDM producers have like specific tempos that stay at? Like, what you say, I'm a 60 BPM producer, I'm a 210 BPM
So
producer.
it just like depends on the genres. So like future bass, like, like Flumey, like Illenium type stuff, that's like the slower, or it depends. It's like usually 150 to 160 BPM, but it's half timed, so it's like 70, 80. So it's like they have like hip hop type drums in it. You know what I mean? Like the swingy type, like
the claps, the super thin hi hats.
But like the house producers and everything like that, they stay in the 120s because it's the 4 on the floor, like doom 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 doom, like that. Everybody, the classic. You know what I mean? That
classic dubstep thing people mimic.
Yeah. And that's, I really, I like the dance music. I can't really get into the dubstep. It's not really something that I'm really into. I mean, I have respect for it. All the producers and DJs out there.
Do those worlds collide a lot? Like when you're at a set and there's other people on the bill, are they all making different kinds of electronic music usually? Is it like, oh, this is a house set, this is a DJ set, or rather a dubstep set?
Literally, like, some nights there's just a bunch of different types of DJs, and I think those are the sickest nights, is when there's just a bunch of different people that make different types of music. And that's why I like the EDM scene too, is because everybody respects each other in that sense. It's not like, you don't view it as like a competition when you're there. You're just like, oh, these people do this and it's sick, and I like listening to their music, and I like seeing them play. It's not like, oh shit, they're better than me, I need to be better than them. It's not like that.
Do you think the general club scene is really supportive like that, or are there some assholes every now and then?
I mean, of course there's assholes, but I feel like the club scene for house and dance and all that type of stuff, like, it's way better. Like, say someone's tripping on acid or tripping on Molly or something like that, and they're on the ground, people are picking them up. People are picking them up, and I've seen at some other places where that's not the case, like people beat out close to death on the dance floor out there.
I saw a fool at Rolling Loud. He looked like he was off perks or like Xanax or something. He was like tweaked the fuck out and he just passed out. Yeah. And like he's in a pit. I'm on like the other side of the barrier, so I can't do anything. So I'm just watching this whole thing happen, and it's like the fools around him are just like a bunch of them are like. Like they're laughing. It's like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, I just feel like a lot of the rap shows are just a big clout fest. Like, everybody's just like there for the clout.
It's been to a lot of rap shows. I don't know. I feel like it's a club fest, but I feel like a lot. They're just generally in different genres. I mean, I think it's like this in all concerts, but a lot of the time there are people who are just more standoffish.
Yeah,
maybe,
definitely. Yeah.
Because it's just a different environment.
Totally different.
Whereas I'm sure at an EDM show or a house show, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
In a club, maybe it's a little bit less of a wider variety of kinds of people going there.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that it's a bit more like you can feel a bit safer, but like, oh, everybody is here to do the same thing.
Yeah, dance.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Listen to music.
It's more niche almost.
But,
do you find like that you see a lot of the same people at these clubs? Like,
oh yeah.
It's like the same,
it's basically a lot of the time it's the same people. I mean, of course not all of them, but a lot of the time there's the same people showing up every time.
Yeah.
But you'll see different people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing I like about rap shows and stuff like that, is that there's just so many different types of people, and like literally like when you get a crowd on a vibe in rap, like they're going ham. You know what I mean? Like I've seen like DaBaby and shit like that, like in front of these crowds, like so hype.
Yeah, I saw him
So
once.
hype.
I was gonna see him again, and then I got super sick in line, and I went home and I realized I had the flu. I think I had COVID.
Maybe, man.
I really
Maybe.
think I had COVID. That
Who
was
knows?
Because it was like winter before everything.
Might have
You
been
know,
COVID.
everybody was like, "Oh, COVID."
Yeah.
But it was like I looking back at it, it was like a lot of the similar stuff. Like I feel like I might have had it before it had like an American name, which is kind of weird. What was that weird for you? Like, were you getting into like? Did you start your process of learning how to DJ and like trying to find those clubs before COVID, or was that all after COVID?
Oh, it was all in this time period between, you know, where COVID is still kind of a thing and not. I really started joining it right when COVID, like right when the vaccine started, like in January, December-ish kind of, or like, when was that? I don't even remember.
Something like that, yeah.
But they used to have, where I originally started DJing was out in the desert. And they would have a lot of shows out there because no one gave a fuck out there, like COVID. And sure, it was like illegal and stuff, but it was so fun. And that's where I started. So it wasn't like this grind of finding venues as to where it is now, to where I'm like, oh shit, I need to find these people that can book me and stuff like that. It was more just like, have fun.
Wherever it is, I'll play.
Yeah, literally.
That's crazy. When all is said and done, what do you want your goal as a musician that you want to accomplish? What do you want your message to be? Like, what do you want if you this is gonna sound morbid, but if you for some reason stop making music in a week, what do you want people to know about you? Like what do you want your message to be?
Literally that I just, from the music that I make and from the music that I play, just I hope everybody can just resonate and feel the same vibe and dance and have fun. Literally, I just want people to have fun. That's all I want at the end of the day, is people to have fun. And I want people to not hate each other. You know what I mean? Because especially in California, a lot of the time people give you the hate vibe, you know? I just want people to have fun. And that's why my ultimate goal is to just do this shit everywhere. That's like everyone's goal in music, you know, just travel and do shows all across the world and experience everybody and bring these types of music to everyone. You know what I mean?
Push as far as you can go.
Yeah, literally.
All right, man. Jake, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Thank you for sitting down.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Music matters.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, it's hot. Keep it. Dude, I get like shocked when I take the headphones off.